So many phenomena are spoken about because they are exquisite, wonderful, and unbelievably perfect. So many videos are made about landmarks, funny animals, and thought-provoking pieces of art. But still, in our life there are absolutely different things. Things which make people tremble with horror, which lead even United Nations to xenophobia and despair. The unexpected disastrous events no one can avert show us how miserable and feeble we are when our primitive mindset meets something bewildering and heartbreaking. Thus, we present our video dedicated to Top 7 America's Tragedies.
On the 18th of April 1906, an earthquake and subsequent fires devastated San Francisco, California, leaving more than 3,000 people dead and destroying more than 28,000 buildings. Additionally, some 250,000 of San Francisco's residents were made homeless. Damages were estimated at around $500 million. Despite the utter devastation, San Francisco quickly recovered from the earthquake, and the destruction actually allowed planners to create a new and improved city. Hurricane Katrina was one of the deadliest hurricanes ever to hit the United States. On the 27th of August 2005, the hurricane struck the Gulf Coast of the United States. The storm itself did a great deal of damage, but it also led to a terrible flood. An estimated 1,833 people died in the hurricane and the flooding. What's more, hundreds of thousands of people in Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama were displaced from their homes. Experts estimate that Katrina caused more than $100 billion in damage.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country.
John Kennedy was perhaps the most inspiring leader of his time, and millions of young Americans saw him as representative of their and America's future. But unfortunately, he was killed on the 22nd of November 1963 in Texas. When the president was heading to the center of the city of Dallas in a car, 3 loud rifle shots suddenly rang through the air. Kennedy was wounded, and he died half an hour later in the hospital. A man called Lee Harvey Oswald was accused of committing this crime, and this version is official, although there are many unofficial ones, and the truth is still not known.
In the spring of 1927, the Mississippi River flooded, and it was perhaps the greatest natural disaster in the history of the United States. The vast flood covered a huge amount of land and water up to 30 feet deep, displacing about 1 million people in a nation of 120 million. Flooded areas were roughly equal in size to Massachusetts, Connecticut, New Hampshire, and Vermont combined. Thousands died, and over 250,000 blacks lived in refugee camps for several months. The Red Cross fed nearly 700,000 refugees for weeks. Many people of all races left the area permanently. The flood and its aftermath profoundly changed government, society, and race relations in the region.
On the 28th of January in 1986, the American shuttle orbiter Challenger broke up 73 seconds after liftoff, bringing a devastating end to the spacecraft's 10th mission. The disaster claimed the lives of all 7 astronauts abroad, including Krista McAuliffe, a teacher from New Hampshire who had been selected to join the mission and teach lessons from space. It was later determined that 2 rubber O-rings, which had been designed to separate the sections of the rocket booster, had failed due to cold temperatures on the morning of the launch. The tragedy and its aftermath received extensive media coverage and prompted NASA to suspend all shuttle missions. The surprise attack on Pearl Harbor by the Japanese on the 7th of December in 1941 killed about 2,400 Americans and dealt a severe blow to the United States military might in the Pacific. The assault on the Hawaii-based naval facility launched the nation into a world war that lasted 4 years at a cost of nearly 500,000 American lives. On the 11th of September in 2001, 19 Muslim terrorists, backed by Osama bin Laden's Al-Qaeda network, hijacked 4 airplanes. They flew them into the World Trade Center in New York, the Pentagon, and thanks to the heroism of the passengers, a field near Shanksville in Pennsylvania. The action claimed 2,973 victims, severely disrupted the US economy, and launched America into the Afghanistan and Iraq wars, as well as the war on terror that continues over a decade later.
It goes without saying that all these tragic events led to their dreadful, disastrous, and even fatal consequences. They caused serious damage to the country and threw discredit upon the security of their citizens. However, instead of becoming panic-stricken, the citizens of the USA united and proved to be extremely courageous in the face of danger. We should remember that every disaster, every act of terrorism makes the government think of the possible imperfections in one or another sphere of life, and, what's more important, tragic events make them act and do everything possible to prevent disasters in the future.